abandon,
The capital was abandoned. The enemy was advancing.
And our country must abandon all the habits of racism, because we cannot carry the message of freedom and the baggage of bigotry at the same time. And whatever our views of its cause, we can agree that children at risk are not at fault. Abandonment and abuse are not acts of God. They are failures of love.
There are possibilities enough for all who will abandon mastery over others to pursue mastery over nature.
abroad,
To renew America, we must meet challenges abroad as well as at home.
Our nation can be strong abroad only if it is strong at home.
That bond, though stained, is unbroken at home and abroad.
When we met here 4 years ago, America was bleak in spirit, depressed by the prospect of seemingly endless war abroad and of destructive conflict at home.
advance,
And we must be a source of hope to the poor, the sick, the marginalized, the victims of prejudice, not out of mere charity, but because peace in our time requires the constant advance of those principles that our common creed describes: tolerance and opportunity, human dignity, and justice. And for those who seek to advance their aims by inducing terror and slaughtering innocents, we say to you now that our spirit is stronger and cannot be broken. You cannot outlast us, and we will defeat you. The capital was abandoned. The enemy was advancing.
I will live and lead by these principles, to advance my convictions with civility, to pursue the public interest with courage, to speak for greater justice and compassion, to call for responsibility and try to live it as well.
Our founders understood that well and gave us a democracy strong enough to endure for centuries, flexible enough to face our common challenges and advance our common dreams in each new day.
each of us must find a way to advance the purpose of the nation, thus find new purpose for ourselves. Without this, we will simply become a nation of strangers.
adversary,
The world is no longer divided into two hostile camps. Instead, now we are building bonds with nations that once were our adversaries.
As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever.
The world is still engaged in a massive armaments race designed to ensure continuing equivalent strength among potential adversaries.
Those who would be our adversaries we invite to a peaceful competition, not in conquering territory or extending dominion, but in enriching the life of man.
Finally, to those nations who would make themselves our adversary, we offer not a pledge, but a request that both sides begin anew the quest for peace. Before the dark powers of destruction, unleashed by science, engulf all humanity in planned or accidental self-destruction.
affirm,
Each time we gather to inaugurate a president, we bear witness to the enduring strength of our Constitution. We affirm the promise of our democracy. We recall that what binds this nation together is not the colors of our skin or the tenets of our faith or the origins of our names.
With a simple oath, we affirm old traditions and make new beginnings.
age,
And we will transform our schools and colleges and universities to meet the demands of a new age.
At the dawn of the 21st century, a free people must now choose to shape the forces of the information age and the global society, to unleash the limitless potential of all our people, and yes, to form a more perfect union.
allegiance,
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
What makes us exceptional, what makes us American, is our allegiance to an idea articulated in a declaration made more than 2 centuries ago.
You have seen duty and allegiance in the determined faces of our soldiers.
Alliance.
We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth.
America will remain the anchor of strong alliances in every corner of the globe. Recall that earlier generations faced down fascism and communism not just with missiles and tanks, but with the sturdy alliances and enduring convictions.
While keeping our alliances and friendships around the world strong, ever strong, we will continue the new closeness with the Soviet Union, consistent both with our security and with progress.
With our alliances strengthened, with our economy leading the world to a new age of economic expansion, we look to a future rich in possibilities.
Can we forge against these enemies a grand and global alliance, north and south, east and west, that can assure a more fruitful life for all mankind? Will you join in that historic effort?
Ally.
And all the allies of the United States can know. We honor your friendship. We rely on your counsel, and we depend on your help. We will defend our allies and our interests.
Together with our friends and allies, we will work to shape change, lest it engulf us.
To those neighbors and allies who share our freedom, we will strengthen our historic ties and assure them of our support and firm commitment.
To those old allies whose cultural and spiritual origins we share, we pledge the loyalty of faithful friends.
almighty,
we all enjoy the same glorious freedoms, and we all salute the same great American flag. And whether a child is born in the urban sprawl of Detroit or the windswept plains of Nebraska, they look up at the same night sky, they fill their heart with the same dreams, and they are infused with the breath of life by the same almighty Creator.
When our founders boldly declared America's independence to the world and our purposes to the Almighty, they knew that America, to endure, would have to change. Not change for change's sake, but change to preserve America's ideals: life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness.
For I have sworn before you and Almighty God the same solemn oath our forebears prescribed nearly a century and 3/4 ago.
anew,
We made ourselves anew and vowed to move forward together.
Today, America speaks anew to the peoples of the world.
We must think anew and move with a new boldness so every American who seeks work can find work.
Finally, to those nations who would make themselves our adversary, we offer not a pledge, but a request that both sides begin anew the quest for peace. Before the dark powers of destruction, unleashed by science, engulf all humanity in planned or accidental self-destruction.
arms,
We will defend our people and uphold our values through strength of arms and rule of law.
This is not primarily the task of arms, though we will defend ourselves and our friends by force of arms when necessary.
The world economy, the world environment, the world AIDS crisis, the world arms race, they affect us all.
We shall continue in this era of negotiation to work for the limitation of nuclear arms and to reduce the danger of confrontation between the great powers. And with those who are willing to join, let us cooperate to reduce the burden of arms, to strengthen the structure of peace, to lift up the poor and the hungry.
we dare not tempt them with weakness. For only when our arms are sufficient beyond doubt can we be certain beyond doubt that they will never be employed.
Aspiration.
Freedom is one of the deepest and noblest aspirations of the human spirit.
As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever.
Forces now are converging that make possible for the first time the hope that many of man's deepest aspirations can at last be realized.
Avoid.
Some may still deny the overwhelming judgment of science, but none can avoid the devastating impact of raging fires and crippling drought and more powerful storms.
The great objective of ending tyranny is the concentrated work of generations. The difficulty of the task is no excuse for avoiding it.
My fellow Americans, as we look back at this remarkable century, we may ask, can we hope not just to follow, but even to surpass the achievements of the 20th century in America, and to avoid the awful bloodshed that stained its legacy? To that question, every American here and every American in our land today must answer a resounding yes.